Hey, it is Whitney Kay, business coach, marketing agency owner, and your host of the Uno Mas podcast, where overwhelmed female entrepreneurs and founders come to get real, actionable advice on how to ditch burnout and build a business that actually works for them. Here you'll access tips, proven strategies, and unfiltered conversations with industry leaders. Let's talk about the moment every business owner dreads, and that's the realization that your funnel is dead. You've checked the numbers lately. No one's opting in, no one's clicking, no one's even buying. So you start questioning everything. You ask yourself, is my offer bad? Should I start over? Should I just torch the whole thing? But before you do that, just hit pause, because most funnels that feel broken don't actually need a rebuild. They just need a tune-up. And in this episode, I'm going to walk you through exactly what you can check and in what order so that you can stop guessing, stop panicking, and start fixing the real issue at hand. So let's go ahead and dive right in. If you are an entrepreneur, and specifically a digital-based entrepreneur, then you have a funnel in place. It might not be working the way that you've liked, but you probably have something in place to funnel people to a sale. Now, as somebody that has been an entrepreneur for years, I have built some of the most crappy funnels in my life. Some funnels I look back and I'm like, why the heck? Why was I even in business? How the hell did I even work with some of you all? Because this thing was janky, okay? We're talking duct tape together with hope and dreams is what I had initially put in place. And a lot of my funnels that I've created really start with the top of funnel being social media. And there was many years that I was operating without even email marketing in place. Like, what? And if that's you, we need to have another conversation on a whole different day. But I had no email marketing in place. I had no automations in place. Everything was so manualized that it was just messy, straight up messy. But over the years of perfecting my skill set, growing in my knowledge, developing my experience, working with hundreds, if not thousands of entrepreneurs, I feel like I've gotten a lot better at creating funnels and more specifically recognizing the holes in the funnels. And a lot of times I will hear people say, oh, it's broken. You need a whole new funnel. Like companies will reach out to you and take a look at what you have and be like, you know what, this is great, but let us design you something completely new. You don't necessarily need something new. Most funnels aren't broken. They're just misaligned. And when a funnel isn't converting, most people assume that the whole system is just trash. But in reality, it's almost always just a misalignment problem. So it can be like a misalignment between what your audience thinks and what they need, what your funnel promises. It could be how your offer is positioned to solve that thing that your audience needs. So you end up sitting here and thinking to yourself, this looks good, and it sounds good, but it doesn't feel necessarily right for your audience, and if it doesn't feel right, they're just not going to click and they don't end up buying. And for you, the reaction when you're not seeing the results that you want is to scrap the whole thing, have new branding, have new copy, have a completely new offer at hand, and just rebuild the whole thing. But rebuilding can be a huge waste of time if you haven't diagnosed what's actually not working. You end up just getting right back on the hamster wheel and repeating the same thing, whether it's bigger, as far as it's a bigger scale of a problem, or just the same problem, but in a nice new suit, right? So before we start writing opt-ins at like 2 a.m. or hiring another designer, let's get a little methodical in our process and break down areas and things that could be wrong and assess how you can better improve them before we just throw everything into a dumpster fire and say, so be it. So what do we do? And you want to kind of go through this in order, because by going through this in order, you are going to better streamline the process and more than likely notice a problem towards the beginning of what I'm going to share with you and not necessarily have to change the whole thing. Or you'll notice something in the middle and not have to really necessarily get to the very end and revamp a lot of your funnel. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to check your traffic. You want to start here because if no one's even seeing your funnel, then nothing else matters. All right. So ask yourself, are you actually getting enough eyeballs on your opt in page? Are they even the right people? Do they match your ideal client, or is it just anyone clicks? And a lot of times we are having people jump to the top of funnel through our social media content. So you've got to ask yourself too, is the content that you're creating on social media speaking to the right audience so that they can even be called into action to jump into that top of funnel? And if your traffic is low to your funnel, you don't have a funnel problem. You actually have what's called a visibility and targeting problem, meaning you're not even hitting the right audience because the right audience isn't even seeing your stuff. So if you're not speaking to the right audience and they're not seeing your stuff, then there's obviously a problem here because they're never going to get into the top of your funnel. But you might say, okay, well, my traffic is okay, but I'm still not getting conversions. And if that's the case, that's when you go into this next step. And the next step is auditing your opt-in hook or auditing the hook that triggers that action. So there's two parts to this really. So you got to look at it as it being your front door. If people don't even come in, the rest of the funnel is never going to be seen. So some questions that you can ask yourself is, are you hooking your ideal audience by the problems and desires that they have? This can be done in your content. I see a lot of people, and I was one of them for a very long time, that was more so speaking about what I do and how I do it, not necessarily speaking to the person that would be interested in learning more about what I do and how I do it. But in order to interest them first to lean into that, I needed to speak to them like I understood them. Like I could feel the problems that they have. I understood the frustrations that they have because A, I've either been there myself, or B, I've worked with so many people that deal with these same frustrations, problems, and desires that I get it. I get you. So when we speak to that in our content, people tend to just lean in and really say, you know what, she really understands, because not only is she speaking to it, but she's using the same verbiage that I probably would use. So she just gets me. She understands me. The next thing you want to ask yourself is the call to action or the freebie that you're providing, whether it be a call with you or a digital resource or a newsletter that you might have people opt into, is it actually solving a real problem? This is the kicker. Or is it just more content? So many of us are creating freebies that is just more fluff, just to get clicks. And what happens is you'll get the clicks, but then you'll get the unsubscribes. Then you'll get the people that say, yeah, this is what I thought it might be for me, but it's just not for me. I actually was working with a client recently, and this was her lead magnet. I told her to, we kind of came up with this lead magnet idea and this concept, and we outlined it. And then, I told her, go ahead and go design it and make it and do whatever you need to do, and then bring it back and let's look at it and revise it. And it was basically exactly what she was sharing. And we're working through a whole bunch of different processes here with her as far as content and systems and streamlining and offers and sales and everything. But with the content that she was sharing, the lead magnet wasn't really going deeper. It wasn't adding an extra layer of value that her ideal persona would necessarily desire enough to want to put in their back pocket and save. It was kind of like a business card where you get a business card and great, the information's there, but you end up throwing it away because it really doesn't mean anything to you, or it's just, whatever, I can always just Google it later. It was so just generic that it wasn't even going to hit. So we revised the lead magnet. We took it a little bit more in depth. We went a lot deeper, actually, if I'm being honest, with the process of how to find the solution to the specific problem that we were speaking to. And it just totally amplified the overall lead magnet in itself, and it became way more desirable. So if your call to action or your freebie that you're offering or whatever that you're offering is just content, then what really incentivizes your audience to click? And then the last thing you can ask yourself is the hook clear and specific? Is the lead magnet, the title of the lead magnet, clear and specific to the problem and desire that you are telling them that you can solve? And if they get it, if they tap in, if they take action, they're going to get answers or solutions to helping solve that problem or that frustration. So you got to make sure that it promises something worth trading an email for. Emails are so personal. Some people pass them out like, it's just like candy in a jar, like no big deal. But like me, I don't give my email out. Whenever I go to a store and they're like, let me have your email, I'm like, no. In fact, I do give an email out, but it's my junk email that I never check because it's where all the spam goes to. But if somebody's going to give you their email and it's not a junk email, then you want to make sure that they're giving the email that they check on a daily, that they go and look at, and whether it be for client work, whether it be for their own personal work, their own personal life, you want to make sure that your emails are falling there, that you are tapping in to their personal space. That is when you've got exactly where you need to be with your consumer. You also want to make sure that it's urgent and valuable and specific. So most freebies die. You just have to understand this because they're vague. They're generic. They're just boring. So the more urgent and valuable and specific that you are, the better it is. The next thing you want to look at in your funnel is the follow-up. This is so important. And they always say, you've heard it a million times, the fortune is in the follow-up. Some opt-ins, it's like somebody opts in and what happens? I have gotten into so many opt-ins where emails have never been sent, or I've opted in and there's no like redirect to screen. Like it doesn't direct me to another page. It just sits there on this white page. And I'm like, what happened? Where am I? Like, am I lost in the internet abyss? I have no clue where I am. Or I've even gotten things where I've opted in for, and I've gotten a completely separate lead magnet. Like, I'm like, what? This isn't even what I asked for. So you got to make sure that what people are opting in for is exactly what you're delivering. And you've got to ask yourself, are they hearing from you quickly enough? If you have to where somebody opts in and you are not immediately popping in their inbox, whether it's within the first couple seconds or like the first minute, that's fine. But don't wait an hour. Don't wait 24 hours for your deliverable to get into their inbox. You want to get in there quickly, all right? Most people that opt into something know it's automated. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, well, I want to wait like a couple hours so it looks more generic and like authentic and it's coming from me personally, come on now. We all live in today. We all know that everything is digital. We all know that there's automation, that there's AI. Most people have this set up in their business. There is no judgment. Use the tools that are available to you and just get the information to the person. They don't care who it came from. They're just looking for the resource. The next thing you want to ask yourself is, are your emails or DMs, whatever you're using to like nurture your audience, are they building trust or are they just pushing a pitch? I have been through so many automated DM conversations, mainly because I want to test and see how other people are doing theirs in comparison to mine. And I also get ideas from that. But then I have also just been in automated DMs where I genuinely was an interested consumer and wanted the resource or the freebie or the links. And I'm mainly talking about like Instagram or social media platforms that use platforms like ManyChat and have automated DMs going on, because that's where this happens most often. So I have been in conversations where it just feels so inauthentic. It's very transactional. And here's the thing, even though it's automation, right? Even though you might have AI automation, whatever you have incorporated into your funnel and process, people are aware, number one. But number two, you don't have to be so transactional. The great thing about platforms like this is that you can make it sound like you. You can make it more authentic and personal as if it's coming from you. We don't have to just be like, hey, here's the link. You want to buy? It's just ick. No. So make sure that you are really nurturing, you're taking people through a process. Might it be a little bit longer than just getting straight to the point? Yes, but it doesn't have to be so extensively long to where you've lost the interest of your consumer, right? The next thing you want to ask yourself is, are you really giving them the reason to stay engaged? Or are they ghosting you after the second email? So one of the best things that you want to do is not only deliver the value that you promised to deliver in that first email, as well as set those expectations of what they can expect to see moving forward, but you can even drop nuggets like, something along the lines of, stick around because I'm sending you another email tomorrow with this additional free resource intact, or attached, I should say. You can incentivize your audience to stay, but it also has to do with the value in the content you're putting forward. If it's worth sticking around for, then they're not going to ghost you. But if it's not worth sticking around for, they're out. Okay? So you also don't need to overwhelm them with emails. My goodness, I have been on some email lists where it's like I get 1 to 2 emails a day from people from the same person. I'm like, this is too much. This is too much. I love you. I support you, but I don't need to hear from you that much. I don't even hear from my mom that much, let alone I need to hear. I don't even hear from my husband that much. I don't even need to hear from you that much. So this is the part that really kills more funnels than people realize. All right. You can have great traffic. You can have a great opt-in, but if your follow-up feels robotic, overwhelming, irrelevant, or way too salesy, it's going to flop. 100% it's going to flop. So the last part of like the process that you want to go through outside of just, looking at, you're assessing the follow-up, making sure the hook is good, checking your traffic at the very beginning. One of the last parts is revisiting your offer positioning. All right. So let's say they open the email. Then they click through, but they still don't buy. And Whitney, what do you mean by click through? Meaning they open the email, they click on the button or the link, that the call to action to go somewhere, to access something. So they click through, but they still don't buy. They get to the sales page, but nothing happens. Most of the time, that is an offer alignment issue, okay? And there's some things that you want to look at if this could potentially be the case. One of them is, are you talking about outcomes? Or are you just listing features? I have done this. Oh, I have done this. I have been like, this is what's in it. This is what's in it. This is what you can get. This is this and this. But I never talk about or paint the picture of the outcome that they can personally see. I never show them the transformation or paint the picture of the transformation or use customer testimonials or customer experiences from previous clients that I've worked with in my sales page. I've done that in the past, and I don't know why I didn't think I need that, but you need it. All right. You want to make sure that you are talking about the outcomes and not just listing the benefits, the features, the perks, right? Then you also want to ask yourself, does the offer clearly connect to a problem that you solved in your freebie? Now, if your freebie was a call, or maybe it was a resource, or maybe it was 3 email funnel, whatever it might be, a video training, whatever your freebie was, you got to make sure that the offer that you are providing aligns with that. There's nothing more disconnecting than getting a freebie and then having an upsell into an offer or a pitch into an offer that has nothing in common with what the freebie was. It's just like, what? Why is this? I don't understand this. It's just like, it's like getting catfished on a date or something. It's completely confusing. And then you want to ask yourself, is the price point justified by the value, not just the deliverables? Is it justified by the value, not just the deliverables? Because the value that you provide, the price point needs to match. All right. You might have a ton of different deliverables. I could give you 10 different resources, but if the value's really only on 3 of them, the price point needs to justify that. But if you've got heavy value in 10 different resources and it's like this is substantial, then the price point needs to justify that. People don't buy offers, they buy solutions. People don't buy offers, they buy solutions. And if you can provide them with a solution to the frustration or the desire that they have in their business or themselves, that is where you are going to sell. So make sure your pitch connects the dots all the way through. So recap, okay? Let's just wrap it up really quickly. So you don't need a new funnel every 3 months. Please hear me when I say that. You don't need to throw it all into a dumpster fire and start over. What you need is to fix the weakest link. You do not need to blow up the whole thing, all right? So you want to diagnose it in order. You want to diagnose the traffic first. Are you even getting the eyes on the funnel in the first place? If not, we need to reassess that. Then you want to analyze your opt-in. Then you want to analyze how you're nurturing the people to the offer, to the sale. And then lastly, what does the pitch look like? What does the offer look like? Is it aligned? Does it make sense? Do all the dots connect? And then you want to track real data, not just feelings. So for example, if you have like 200 people hit the page, hit your opt-in page, and only 2 of them convert, that's okay. You've got numbers to work with. But if you are not tracking your data and you have no way to assess how many people are converting and how many times you've sent people or people have entered your funnel, that's a problem. Small tweaks can restructure an entire funnel. All right? So don't let panic drive you into this full rebuilding mode. Like, I gotta do everything new. I've got to do it all new. That's just procrastination wearing a strategy hat. It really is. It's like I can do all things and start from scratch, and it's you just not really wanting to get straight to the point of what the problem is. So if this episode helped you spot where you might be off in your funnel, then great. That is the first step. And if you want a second set of eyes on your funnel, that is where I come in and what I do. So DM me on Instagram, the word funnel, or at Hey Whitney K, and let's talk a little bit, and we can schedule a free call with me to where I can look at your funnel and we can start fixing it. You don't need to burn it down. We just need to fix what's broken. So until then, I'll see you next week for Uno Mas Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to listen in to today's episode on Uno Mas Podcast. What can you do to support the show moving forward? Well, you can subscribe on your favorite platform, leave a review or a rating, because it's your reviews that matter most, and it's your reviews that help us get the show discovered by new listeners. And don't forget to share this episode with your friends, family, and followers on all your social media accounts, tagging me at The Whitney K or at Uno Mas Podcast for a spotlight feature on our social platforms. Now, if you're a female entrepreneur who's ready to ditch the overwhelm, stream your business operations, and create a brand that deeply resonates with your audience, it's time to take the next step. Visit Eden with an IDEN.agency to learn more about my strategic synergy partnership, a personalized one-on-one partnership experience where we'll work together to implement the tools, systems, and strategies you need to scale with confidence, save time, and achieve sustainable growth. Don't wait. Your business deserves clarity, efficiency, and success. So let's make it happen together.